Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain a movie released in 2014 titled Trash. This movie tells the story of two trash-picking boys from Rio's slums who find a wallet amongst their local dump's daily detritus. Little do they imagine that their lives are about to change forever. What is the real mystery behind their discovery? Let's find out in Trash. Trash begins with the story of a middle-aged man named Jose Angelo. He was seen at a cemetery visiting his daughter's grave, Pia Angelo. After putting the flowers on, he went home. When he got home, he put a photo, a key, and other important things in a red wallet. Not long after, it turned out that the police had surrounded his apartment. The police chased him and then shot Jose in the leg until he was cornered at the end of the apartment balcony facing the highway. Not long after, he threw a red wallet he was carrying on the road. The red wallet landed on a garbage truck that happened to be passing on the highway. The garbage truck continued to drive all the way to the outskirts of the city, a landfill, in a slum area. Then, after the garbage truck was unloaded, many scavenger children came to sort out the newly arrived garbage. One of the scavengers is Rafael. It looks like he is carrying a large plastic bag and starting to pick out the trash. Unexpectedly, he found a red wallet thrown away by Jose earlier. In the red wallet, he saw several bills and other items. He immediately put the wallet in his pants pocket. Rafael checked the red wallet he had found earlier during the break, then he gave some money to Gardo, his friend. In addition to containing money, Rafael finds a drawing of a lottery animal, a key, and other items. Meanwhile, in another place, Jose, who had been caught by the police, was being tortured in a dark room with his hands tied up. His body and face were covered in wounds and bleeding. Jose was asked to tell him what was in the red wallet he had thrown away. However, he remained silent and didn't say a word. In the end, the police officer killed him. Back in the slums, Rafael and Gardo were seen jumping into the river to take a bath at the garbage dump. The policemen, led by Federico, a middle-aged male police officer, were seen walking on the river bank where Rafael and Gardo were swimming and bathing. While walking, he passed Gardo. Gardo was curious and asked why so many police came here. Federico explained that he was looking for a lost wallet, which was a very important piece of evidence. Federico even offered 1,000 Brazilian reals if anyone found the wallet. Then, he asked them to introduce themselves. Gardo immediately introduced himself and his friend Rafael to the chief of police. Their conversation was interrupted when a mother asked Gardo what wages she would get if she cooked the chicken pieces he had brought earlier. It wasn't long before Federico left that place. In the evening, Gardo advises Rafael to hand over the red wallet he found so they can get a reward. However, Rafael refused because he was sure that something far more valuable was in the wallet, so the police were willing to go down to the garbage dump and offer a monetary reward. Rafael thought that the longer the wallet was gone, the higher the reward chances. Then, at midnight, Rafael takes Gardo to meet his old friend. They walk through the dirty river and into a large culvert near the river. Inside the sewers, they meet Gabriel, or who is usually called Rado, a lonely boy who lives in the sewers. Rafael asks Rado to help him find clues from the items in his wallet. Rado saw a key in the wallet and looked at it. He then said the key might be what the police were looking for. Then, Rado was willing to find out about the key if Rafael was willing to split their bounty equally. Rafael agreed. The next day, the three of them boarded a train and arrived in the city. Then they walked down an underground passage. Unfortunately, their journey was blocked by a bully who ruled the area. The bully asked for some money so that they can continue their journey through the area. Having no money, Rado handed over the necklace he was wearing. Finally, they were allowed to pass. Soon, they arrived at the end of the hall. It turned out that the hallway led to a passageway to the train station. Rado thought that the key that Rafael found in the red wallet was the key to one of the lockers in the station. However, they saw two policemen patrolling when they wanted to approach the locker. Gardo took the initiative to distract the police by snatching a bag from a woman who was walking at the train station. Then, the two policemen chased him, who went away from the locker area at the train station. Rafael and Rado could easily check and match the mysterious key with the locker there. Luckily, they were able to find a suitable locker and open it. It turned out that in the locker there was only a letter envelope. When they were preparing to run away, it turned out that the bully they had met in the underground passage was chasing him and wanted to snatch the envelope. Rafael and Rado ran as fast as they could by riding a carriage that was about to start. They escaped from the chase of the bully and meet with Gardo in the train carriage. On their way home, while they were in the train carriage, Gardo read the address of the recipient of the letter. The envelope was addressed to João Clement, a male prisoner currently serving his sentence with the prison address Cova. When he got home, Rafael then opened the envelope. He finds photos of Jose Angelo with his daughter. Behind the photos are written a row of secret numbers. Intrigued by João Clement's name written on the letter, The next day, the three of them sneaked into the house of Father Juilliard, an old priest who lived in the slum. They divide tasks when they enter Father Juilliard's house, where Rado is in charge of distracting Father Juilliard and his daughter Olivia by inviting them to talk in the dining room. Meanwhile, Rafael and Gardo used the computer in Father Juilliard's study to look up Joel Clement's profile on the internet. They found information on Google that Joel Clement was once a famous lawyer who was later in prison for some reason. Then Gardo printed the information on the printer machine, after which they fled. One afternoon, Federico, the police chief, returned to the garbage dump. He was still curious about the whereabouts of Jose Angelo's red wallet and ordered the scavengers to find the missing wallet. Then Federico, who had previously been acquainted with Gardo and Rafael, asked where they were because they were not seen when he came. One of the scavengers said that Gardo and Rafael didn't come to work that day. From there, Federico looked suspicious of the two children. That evening, having found some information about Joel Clement, they intended to tell Father Juilliard about it the following day. Unfortunately, before they met Father Juilliard, that night it turned out that Rafael was kidnapped by the police. Seeing his friend kidnapped, Gardo and Rado immediately came to Father Juilliard's house and told him. Meanwhile, in another place on the corner of the street at midnight, several police cars were seen stopping. There Rafael is taken out of the police car and interrogated. Rafael's head was banged against the car several times. However, Rafael still refused to speak. Federico became angry, then covered Rafael's head where his hands and feet had also been bound. Then, he was thrown into the back seat of a police car. One of Federico's men drove the car recklessly and made Rafael stumble in it. At one of the police stations, Father Juilliard and Gardo came to report a case of missing a child while looking for information on Rafael's whereabouts. However, when they arrived at the police station, the police officer on duty did not know about Rafael's arrest because there was no one named Rafael on the police detention list at that time. Returning to Rafael, after being tossed around by a police car that was driven recklessly, he was finally transferred to Federico's car. In the car, Federico interrogates Rafael again and asks about the whereabouts of the red purse. Finally, the battered Rafael admitted that he had found the red purse. However, when Federico asked what was in the wallet, he kept silent again. Impatient because Rafael is difficult to work with, Rafael is put in a car trunk and the car is driven recklessly again. Rafael, who was in the car's trunk, staggered back until the car stopped somewhere. At a deserted crossroads, Federico dropped Rafael. Then, he ordered his men to shoot him and leave. After Federico left, Federico's men had prepared to shoot Rafael in the head by brandishing their guns. However, for some reason, the policemen suddenly didn't have the heart to kill Rafael. Finally, the policemen gave up and left him alone on the road. In the afternoon, the residents found the whereabouts of Rafael, who was dying and covered in bruises. Rafael was carried by several residents to Father Juilliard's house. Then, the wounds on his body began to be treated. As night falls, Olivia returns home and is shocked to see an injured Rafael being accompanied by Gardo and Rado. Rado then explains that Rafael has just been beaten by the police and he needs justice. A few days later, after his body recovered, Rafael said he remembered the conversations the police had had when he was arrested. He recalled that the police officer was talking about a person named Santos. Hearing that name, Rado explained that he knew who Santos was. He explained that Santos was a dirty and greedy politician who was running for mayor. Rado knows that Santos' residence is near the beach. They then set a strategy to demand justice. Long story short, Rafael and Rado go to the Blood of Santos house, which is near the beach, by bus, while Olivia and Gardo will visit Joel Clement in prison by taxi. It turned out that Joel Clement was an old man who had spent a long time in prison. When they met, Gardo delivered the last message to the letter owner, Jose Angelo, who missed his uncle, Joel Clement. Jose also wrote that the person who imprisoned his uncle would soon be caught, where the message at the end of his letter was that Santos would be finished and his uncle's fight against corruption would continue. Then in the letter it was also written that if this message reached him, it meant that his nephew had died. His uncle, Joel Clement, heard Gardo's message and burst into tears. Meanwhile, near the beach in a very luxurious and large house, Rafael and Rado, who intend to sneak into the house, are seen by a gardener there. Rado asked the gardener why there were so many security guards at Santos' house. Then, the gardener told him that recently his boss had stolen valuables from his house. His boss confidant, Jose Angelo, has just stolen 10 million reals and brought other important items from his boss's house. The gardener told the chronology of the theft by going back to some time ago. At that time, it was seen that there was a meeting between Santos and several officials to discuss his desire to become a mayor by giving bribes. Then, Santos ordered his confidant, Jose Angelo to keep the bribe money he would give to politicians and some important documents in his secret room. Then that night, he cut the refrigerator cable in the kitchen until the refrigerator was broken the following day. Jose suggested that the fridge be replaced. That night, Jose breaks into the secret room of the house again and steals all the money stored in the secret room. He also stole classified documents that listed the names of officials who had received bribes from Santos. He put the money and secret documents in the broken refrigerator to be transported tomorrow morning. The next day, the refrigerator was picked up and Jose paid a courier to bring the refrigerator to his house. That's why now many security officers guard Santos' house. In prison, when Gardo and Olivia meet with Joel Clement, he asks for the row of numbers on the back of Jose Angelo's photo. Joel Clement replied that he could crack the secret number code as long as the Bible confiscated by the prison guards was with him. When he was about to leave the prison, the warden was willing to hand over Joel Clement's Bible as long as the Gardo paid him 1,000 rials. Upon returning from prison and arriving home, Olivia asked the three boys why they would do something that put their lives at risk. Then they replied that this was to establish the truth. Then, Olivia had the idea to record their confessions and experiences about this case. One by one, they told all of their experiences, from finding a red wallet to being chased and beaten by the police. One day, in another place, Frederico is being called by Santos. Santos asked about his lost money and documents being stolen. He then ordered to search and destroy Rafael's residence. Moments later, Frederico's men came to search Olivia's residence. In Olivia's room, Frederico finds the wallet he's been looking for, but it's empty. Olivia was arrested by the police. Not long after, the slums were burned down by the police. Rafael watched from a distance his burning residence with a sad look. Then, he intended to visit the prison warden to ask for Joel Clement's Bible. However, they were confused because they did not have 1,000 rials to ransom. The following day, Rado saw the fire victims who had fled to the church and Father Juilliard was busy taking care of the residents. He sneaks into Father Juilliard's room and steals his money while leaving a message with a picture of a crying boy writing his name. Rado used the stolen money to redeem the Bible. It turned out that the prison warden knew Gardo's plan when he handed over his Bible. Gardo immediately ran away from the prison guards by throwing the Bible at Rafael and passing it to Rado. They managed to escape. The three of them were seen hiding in an uninhabited flat. The three of them try to solve the string of numbers they found in Jose Angelo's letter. The number code refers to the Bible they got from the prison warden. Finally, they could solve the number and write it on the wall. The hungry Gardo tried to find food at a party not far from the flat where they were hiding. At the party, while taking food, Gardo saw many police cars heading towards the flat where his friend was hiding. He returned to the flat to warn his friends. The three of them managed to escape from the police just as the police arrived at the flat where they had been hiding. Frederico, who saw the row of numbers on the wall where the three teenagers were hiding, then tried to dial the number. It turned out to be the number of a cemetery. Elsewhere, Rafael stopped at a payphone and tried to call the number they had cracked earlier. It turned out that the same number was connected to a funeral telephone number. Arriving at the cemetery, Rafael sees the last clue in the red wallet where there is a small calendar with the number 17 in June circled. One by one, the graves were examined, showing the date. Finally, Rafael found a grave number 17 in block 6 in the name of Pia Angelo. Unexpectedly, from behind appeared a girl who said she was waiting for her father. Realizing that Pia Angelo had not died, Rafael rushed to call his friends. Unfortunately, his friends were caught by Frederico and asked Rafael to dismantle the tomb's contents. Then the grave was dismantled and the chest inside was forced open. It turned out that in the chest was hidden the money and documents that Jose Angelo had stolen. When Frederico called to inform Santos about the discovery of his money, unexpectedly, from above, Pia Angelo took a concrete pillar and dropped the concrete pillar directly on Frederico's head. Then the three teenage boys attacked him. Then, the three of them together with Pia Angelo ran from the grave with 3 large plastic bags filled with money. Finally, they returned to their slums at the landfill. There, Rado returns the money he stole from Father Juilliard earlier, adds another wad of money, and leaves a document containing the names of the corrupt officials who bribed Santos. Then they spread the money on a hill so the residents in the settlement could take it. They rented a car and left the place. Not long after, Olivia, who was previously arrested by the police, returned home. She showed an SD card containing recordings of children telling their experiences of being chased and beaten by the police. Then the recording was distributed by Olivia via the internet. On the internet, Olivia wrote a list of officials who received bribes from Santos. At the end of the story, on a beautiful beach in Brazil, Pia Angelo sits in a cafe by the beach. She watched a TV show about Santos' arrest for his bribery case. Police officers who helped him were also arrested. The video of Rafael and his friends has also gone viral everywhere. The truth was finally revealed and they lived happily. The film ends.